humiliation. It was supposed to be just another quiet evening at Miller's Diner. The kind of place where the coffee's always hot, the pie's always fresh, and the conversation flows easy between strangers who become regulars. But tonight would be different. The year was 2023. The place, a small-town diner off Route 9. And what happened here would spark a national conversation about respect, dignity, and the invisible scars our veterans carry. This is the story of Henry Walker, a man who served his country with honor, a man who asked for nothing in return, and a man who, on one autumn evening, became the target of cruelty that would change everything. Henry Walker was 72 years old. Silver hair, bent posture from decades of hard work and harder memories. On his head, a cap stitched with faded military insignia from his time in Vietnam. He'd come to Miller's Diner like he did every Thursday evening. Just coffee, just pie, just a moment of peace away from the empty house that used to be filled with his late wife's laughter. Henry wasn't looking for attention. Men like him never do. He'd seen things in the jungles of Southeast Asia that would break most people. He'd carried wounded brothers through mud and blood. He'd held friends as they took their last breaths, but he never talked about it. Not to strangers, not even to family, really. That's the thing about real heroes. They don't need to tell you what they've done. They just carry it, quietly, with dignity. Then they walked in. Trent Marshall, 25 years old, muscular build, but the kind of guy who spent more time taking photos at the gym than actually working out. Tattoos snaking up both arms, each one carefully chosen to look tough. He walked in with 3 friends, all cut from the same cloth. Loud, arrogant, the kind of guys who mistake volume for confidence. They took the booth behind Henry. And from the moment they sat down, Trent zeroed in on the old veteran. Trent, look at this guy. Thinks he's a hero just 'cause he wore a uniform. Henry heard it. Of course he heard it. But men like Henry Walker don't react to every insult. They've learned patience the hard way. He just stirred his coffee, took a bite of his apple pie, kept his eyes down. But Trent wasn't done. Trent, hey, old man. What war were you in? The war against good fashion. The diner fell awkwardly silent. Other customers glanced over, uncomfortable, but unwilling to intervene. Some pulled out their phones, because that's what we do now, isn't it? We record, we watch, but we don't always act. Henry still said nothing. He'd faced enemy fire. This was just noise. But then Trent stood up, walked over, and grabbed Henry's cap right off his head. That cap was more than fabric and thread. It was memory. It was sacrifice. It was every brother Henry had lost. And now it was on the floor. The room gasped. Some laughed nervously. Most just stared, horrified but paralyzed. Henry Walker, this 72-year-old man who'd survived ambushes and insurgencies, bent slowly to pick up his cap. His hands trembled, not from fear. From anger he refused to show. And that's when it happened. Trent, shut up, old man. The sound echoed across the room like a gunshot. Trent Marshall had just slapped a decorated veteran across the face. The phones came up. Videos started rolling. Trent's friends howled with laughter. And Henry, he stood there, red handprint blooming on his weathered cheek, fighting back tears. Not tears of pain, tears of humiliation. For a moment, time seemed to stop in Miller's Diner. Then the door swung open. She was tall, late 30s, dark hair pulled back in a professional bun. Her suit was crisp, her posture military straight, and her eyes scanned the room like she was assessing a threat level. This was Sarah Walker, Henry's daughter, and she had just seen her father's red, swollen cheek. Sarah, voice calm but dangerous. "Dad, who did this?" The diner, which had been full of nervous chatter and phone cameras, fell completely silent. The energy shifted like a storm rolling in. Henry quietly, "Doesn't matter, Sarah. Let's just go." But Trent, still riding his high of cruelty, couldn't help himself. Trent laughing, "What's she gonna do? Call the cops?" Sarah Walker didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice. She simply reached into her coat and pulled out a leather credential case. When she flipped it open, several people in the diner gasped. Federal badge, Department of Homeland Security, Director level clearance. Sarah Walker, Director of Homeland Security, Eastern Regional Command. The phones that had been recording Trent's cruelty were now capturing something very different. His swagger evaporated like water on hot pavement. Trent, stuttering, "Lady, this is none of your business. Sarah, you didn't just assault a veteran. You assaulted my father." Every word landed like a hammer. Trent's friends slowly lowered their phones. The smirks disappeared. One by one, they realized they'd just recorded themselves laughing at a federal crime. "Trent, I didn't know. He's just some old..." Sarah cutting him off. "Some old veteran. A man who fought so you could sit here laughing. A man who served this country while you were still in diapers." Her voice carried through the diner like thunder. Every customer felt it. Even Henry, quiet and humble as always, lowered his eyes, fighting back tears of a different kind now. Pride, gratitude, love. Sarah turned to the diner manager, never breaking eye contact with Trent. "Sarah, call local PD. I'll make sure federal charges stick. Assault on a veteran. Hate crime enhancement. And I'll personally see to it that every person in this booth is investigated for conspiracy." The police arrived within minutes. 3 cruisers, lights flashing outside Miller's diner. Trent Marshall, who had walked in thinking he was untouchable, was now in handcuffs. His arrogance had drained completely, replaced by the pale realization of what he'd done. "Officer Trent Marshall, you're under arrest for assault and battery on a protected veteran. You have the right to remain silent." His friends scattered like roaches when the lights come on, but it didn't matter. Their faces were on video. Their laughter was recorded. They'd all face consequences. As Trent was let out, he looked back at Henry one last time, maybe searching for forgiveness, maybe just trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. Henry Walker, dignified as ever, simply looked away. Sarah stood beside her father, gently placing his veteran's cap back on his head with both hands. A gesture of such tenderness that several customers wiped their eyes. And then something remarkable happened. One person started clapping, then another, then another. The entire diner stood and applauded. Strangers walked up to shake Henry's hand, to thank him, to apologize for not speaking up sooner. An elderly woman approached, tears streaming down her face. "Elderly woman, my husband served in Korea. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your dignity." Henry, uncomfortable with attention even now, simply nodded, but his eyes were wet. Sarah wrapped her arm around her father's shoulders. "Sarah, Dad, I know you didn't want trouble." "Henry, I never do, honey. I just wanted my pie." "Sarah, Sometimes standing up isn't trouble, Dad. It's justice. And you've earned the right to eat your pie in peace. The story of Henry Walker and what happened at Miller's Diner spread quickly. The videos, ironically filmed by Trent's own friends, went viral within hours. Trent Marshall was convicted of assault on a veteran and served 18 months in federal prison. His friends faced lesser charges, but permanent criminal records. But more importantly, the incident sparked a national conversation about respect, about the invisible veterans living among us, about the sacrifices we forget because they're not trending on social media. Henry Walker never wanted to be famous. He still doesn't. He still goes to Miller's Diner every Thursday, still orders coffee and pie, still keeps to himself. But now when he walks in, people stand. They nod. They remember. Because that's what this story is really about. Remembering. Remembering that the quiet man sitting alone at the diner might have saved lives you'll never know about. Might have earned medals he keeps in a drawer. Might carry wounds no one can see. Sarah Walker continues her work in Homeland Security, protecting the same country her father once defended. She keeps a photo in her office, a Polaroid from that night at the diner. Her father, cap on his head, surrounded by strangers who became friends. It reminds her why she does what she does. Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear faded caps and bent postures. Sometimes they just want coffee and pie. And sometimes, when the world has forgot them, justice arrives in the form of a daughter who never will. Never underestimate the quiet strength of those who have served. Their dignity is not negotiable. Their respect is not optional. If this story moved you, honor veterans everywhere. Share their stories. Learn their names. Thank them not just on holidays, but on ordinary Thursdays at ordinary diners. Because that's when it matters most. Heroes never age, and their dignity must never be stolen. This has been the Diner Incident. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with the word respect, and share this video